The creature was never meant to survive. It had fallen from orbit in a screaming trail of plasma, an obsidian mass of scales and bone that struck the tundra moon of Kesh IV like a meteor. The shockwave flattened forests for kilometers. Federation rescue drones approached, only to be torn apart by a tail the size of a shuttle. It was called a Threxian warbeast, a creature bred by the extinct Threx Dominion for planetary sieges. 12 meters tall, quadruple lungs, 6 hearts, exoskeletal plating harder than ship hulls. Even in pain, it destroyed everything that dared approach. For 3 days, the outpost's command team debated orbital sterilization. And then a human raised their hand. "I'll go," said Lieutenant Ava Rains, xenobiologist from Earth. Her tone was quiet, almost apologetic. "You've tried drones, plasma, containment fields, but no one's tried talking to it." The alien officers in the chamber turned toward her, multiple eyes blinking, antennae twitching. "Talking?" hissed Captain VRH of the Vul species. "It flattened 3 grav tanks." Ava shrugged, calm. "So do elephants when you panic them." They didn't understand the word, but they understood the confidence. Hours later, Ava stood in an environmental suit, frost building on her visor, the wind screaming across the tundra. In the distance, something vast groaned, metal and bone grinding together. Her pulse raced. Her breath fogged. She activated her recorder. Day 1. Attempting approach to Threxian specimen Alpha. The ground trembled. A low, resonant sound rolled across the ice, like the heartbeat of a planet. Ava smiled, small but real. "Hey, big guy," she whispered. "You're not alone out here." The sound stopped. And in the silence that followed, something enormous began to listen. The cold was alive. It hummed through Ava's suit, seeping through the insulated layers until even her teeth ached. Each breath crackled in the calm feed like static. The world was white and endless, except for the black ridge that rose ahead, where the Threxian warbeast lay half buried in snow and steam. The creature's flank rose and fell, slowly. Its wounds pulsed like molten glass, cooling and cracking again. Whatever it was made of, it wasn't just flesh. It was fused biology and metal, the kind of nightmare engineered by civilizations that had forgotten mercy. Ava took another step. The ice groaned under her boots. Her hand hovered over the pulse tranquilizer at her hip, but she didn't reach for it. "Alpha," she said softly, her voice transmitted through the open channel. "My name's Ava. I'm not here to hurt you." The creature's head twitched, massive plates sliding like continental drift. One luminous eye flickered open, a vertical slit glowing pale gold. It focused on her the way a thunderstorm might notice a falling leaf. Her translators didn't register any communication. Just low-frequency vibrations, almost below hearing. But her bones felt them. "Okay," she murmured. "We'll skip words." She crouched, lowering her posture, slow and deliberate. Predators understood stance before sound. The warbeast's breathing deepened, each exhale a cloud that rolled across the snow and washed over her visor. "You're hurting," she said, almost to herself. "And scared." "Me too." In the observation tent several kilometers away, the alien command team watched through remote feeds. The Vul captain clicked his mandibles. "She's speaking to it as if it comprehends language." Dr. Hurin, the insectoid medic beside him, replied quietly. "I think it comprehends her tone." The creature shifted, massive claws gouging trenches in the ice. Its tail twitched once. Then, astonishingly, it stopped moving altogether, its golden eye fixed entirely on the lone human kneeling in the snow. And for the first time since it fell from orbit, the Starbeast did not roar. It listened. Ava stayed perfectly still. Not frozen by fear, but deliberate, her heartbeats slowing, her body language open and unthreatening. The Starbeast's breath came in low, seismic waves. Snow drifted from its armor like hide, catching on her visor light. It was magnificent in the most terrible way, scarred, half metal, half life. Something that had been built to destroy now trembling beneath the endless twilight. She could see where plasma burns had melted scales into glass. The scent, sharp iron, carbon smoke, ammonia, burned even through her filters. Easy, she said again. No one's chasing you here? Her words came out as mist, carried by the wind. She slowly extended her gloved hand, not to touch, just to let it see the motion. A sign of peace, the way she had done with wild horses back on Earth. The warbeast shifted. One massive talon, each claw longer than her forearm, dragged across the ground, carving slow circles. Its eye flicked between her hand and her face. Ava smiled faintly. Curious, aren't you? Her calm crackled. Lieutenant Rains, your vitals are spiking. Step back, came Captain VRH's voice. Negative, she replied softly. It's learning me. The alien command post erupted with static-laced protests, but Ava muted the channel. This wasn't about them anymore. This was between two creatures stranded on a frozen moon, both bleeding in ways the other couldn't understand. Minutes passed, or hours. The wind softened. The auroras above began to shimmer faintly, ghostly ribbons painting the darkness. Then the Starbeast lowered its head. Slowly, with mechanical precision, it pressed its jaw into the ice just meters from her boots. It was the universal gesture of exhaustion. Of surrender. Ava's breath hitched. There you are, she whispered. Her recorder pinged once, unknown vocal pattern detected, frequency harmonics stabilizing. For the first time since the Threxian War, a warbeast had chosen not to kill. And it had chosen to rest beside a human. That night, Ava made camp beside the creature's flank. The ice radiated cold even through the thermopads, but the Starbeast's body heat was like a furnace, each exhale a gust of molten air that melted shallow craters in the snow. Her visor fogged as she adjusted her respirator, watching the auroras coil above like restless spirits. Command won't like this, she murmured to her recorder. They wanted a sample, not a conversation. She glanced at the beast's side, where fractured armor exposed the organic tissue beneath. Pulsing. Repairing itself. No Federation medgel or nanite cluster could survive temperatures like these, but the creature's biology was rewriting itself molecule by molecule. It was alive in a way technology never could be, raw, self-correcting, primal. A deep vibration rippled through the ground. The warbeast shuddered in its sleep, limbs twitching. The resonance spiked, low-frequency rumbling that rattled her bones. Ava steadied herself and activated a diagnostic drone. Dreaming, she whispered, watching neural readings fluctuate. You're dreaming of something. Her tablet flickered, visual patterns emerging from the noise. Fire. Red skies. Metallic forests torn apart by impact waves. She saw, through its dreams, its last memory before crashing. The Threxian handlers screaming. Orbit collapsing. Then, silence. She swallowed hard. You were used, she said softly. Turned into a weapon, dropped on cities that never had a chance. The beast stirred. One golden eye cracked open, reflecting the campfire's orange glow. For a second, she thought it might attack. But instead, it made a low, mournful sound, something between a growl and a sigh. Ava felt it in her chest more than her ears. A tremor of loneliness so deep it was almost human. She whispered without thinking. You don't have to be what they made you. The Starbeast blinked slowly. Then, to her shock, its chest rumbled in a rhythm that matched her own heartbeat. A sync. A human and a war engine breathing together under a frozen alien sky. And in that fragile moment, something ancient and terrible learned what peace might sound like. By morning, the storm had passed. Kesh IV's pale sun rose weakly, scattering light across the endless tundra. Ava stretched, muscles aching from the cold, and looked toward the hulking mass beside her. The Starbeast hadn't moved all night. Its breaths were slower now, steadier, no longer shaking the ice with each exhale. She opened her comm channel to base. This is Lieutenant Rains. Subject Alpha remains stable. Possible neural synchronization event recorded. Captain VRH's voice hissed back, thick with disbelief. You synchronize with it? Impossible. Its neural density exceeds even your brain mass. Maybe it wasn't about density. Ava replied, packing her gear. Maybe it was about intent. The alien sighed through his mandibles, a sound of exasperation and fear. You risked your life for a relic of genocide. The Threxian beast consumed worlds. It should be disassembled. She muted him again. There were things Command could never understand. A flicker of motion drew her eye, something on her data pad. The beast's internal frequencies were stabilizing, but now there was a faint digital echo within the static. Almost like a voice. She increased gain. The sound grew clearer, an eerie harmonic resonance, deep and metallic. Alone. Ava froze. What did you say? The Starbeast didn't move. But the noise repeated, subtle, trembling, half machine, half breath. Alone are you. Her heart pounded. The Threxians had built these creatures with neural lattices for remote command. Perhaps some remnant AI was still functioning. But no, this tone was organic, uncertain. Like a child learning speech through mimicry. Ava removed her helmet, ignoring the chill that stabbed her lungs. No, she whispered, looking up at its massive head. I'm here. The beast blinked once. Then a soft vibration rippled outward, lower than any translator could register, but the meaning was unmistakable. Stay. And as the snow began to fall again, Ava realized she wasn't just studying an animal. She was witnessing the first words of a species once thought incapable of mercy. The second dawn came without wind. Just the low crackle of shifting ice and the whisper of distant auroras. Ava sat cross-legged beside the beast, her helmet discarded, frost forming at the edges of her hair. Her oxygen filters were working overtime, but she refused to step back inside the safety dome. Not when the creature was beginning to speak. Alone, it murmured again, the sound vibrating through the snow like the hum of a buried reactor. Ava pressed a hand against her chest, speaking slowly. Not alone. The word came out raw, carried by the thin atmosphere. The Starbeast tilted its massive head, the plates of its neck grinding softly. A dozen optical nodes flickered beneath the frost, shifting in pattern. Then it shuddered. Hard. Its body seized, muscles locking, tail thrashing once before slamming into the ice with a thunderous crack. Ava stumbled back, shielding her face from flying shards. Hey! Easy! Easy, you're safe! But the beast wasn't hearing her. Its body spasmed in pulses, like electrical feedback. Ava watched her datapad spike with bursts of high-frequency signals, data packets, fragments of old code. The beast wasn't convulsing randomly. It was remembering. Images flooded the interface, corridors of steel, burning skies, Threxian commanders in mirrored armor shouting orders. Chains grafted into living tissue. Pain. Command words like brands carved into the mind. It was a weapon born in captivity, obedient to cruelty, loyal only through terror. Ava's throat tightened. They made you fight, she said softly. They made you believe that's all you could do. The Starbeast's breathing turned ragged, its claws gouging deep into the frozen ground. Then, through the static, one broken word formed again. Free. Ava stepped closer. Her boots crunched against the ice. She reached out a gloved hand and touched one of the creature's exposed scales, rough and warm like volcanic stone. Yes, she whispered. You're free now. The great eye dilated. For a heartbeat, she saw not a weapon, not an enemy, but something ancient, terrified, and desperately yearning to believe her. And in that moment, the warbeast wept, not with tears, but with steam rising from cracks in its armor, a release of pressure centuries old. When the trembling finally stopped, the Starbeast lay still. Its breath came in long, rumbling waves, each one softer than the last. Ava knelt beside it, hands resting on her knees, exhausted but unwilling to look away. The air was painfully cold, but the silence between them had a strange warmth. A peace either of them understood. Ava's recorder blinked red, still active. Log entry 71, she said hoarsely. Subject Alpha displays emotional recall, or something close. Memory association linked to pain and captivity. It's aware of freedom as a concept. She hesitated. And it asked for it. The words hung in the frost like ghosts. Her comm unit crackled. Lieutenant, return to base immediately, said Captain VRH, voice taut. Orbital Command has authorized cleansing protocol. You have 1 hour before the strike. Ava froze. They're going to burn it? The beast is too dangerous. Your survival is not guaranteed. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She looked up at the creature's massive head, its eye half-lidded, glowing faintly in the gloom. Burn it. Reduce it to molten ash and data logs. Pretend it never reached out to her. No, she whispered. The comm burst into angry chatter, orders, warnings, threats, but she shut it off, throwing the unit into the snow. The Starbeast stirred, sensing her agitation. Danger, it rumbled. She took a deep breath. Yes. From the sky. They think you'll hurt them. It blinked, a slow vertical motion. Then, will you leave? Ava hesitated. She could have lied. Said she'd come back. Said she had no choice. But humans had earned enough fear out here already. No, she said softly. I'm staying. The great creature inhaled deeply, chest expanding like a forge. Beneath its plates, dull orange light flared. A thin field of energy rippled around them, shimmering arcs spreading through the ice like liquid lightning. Her datapad screamed warnings about radiation and electromagnetic spikes, but she didn't move. And when the bombardment began far above the clouds, the first energy bolt never reached them. The beast had raised a shield. For her. The first plasma bolt hit the barrier like a small sun colliding with glass. The air exploded in white fire. For an instant, the sky itself became a wound, splitting open to pour light and thunder across the tundra. Ava fell backward, shielding her face. The ground shook as the blast waves slammed into the invisible dome. The shield held, but barely. The energy rippled through the barrier in violent waves, dancing across the beast's body in arcs of molten blue. Stop! You'll kill yourselves! She screamed into the broken calm, but her voice was drowned in static. Above, the Federation strike frigate Callister continued its barrage, automated, unlistening. To them, this was just a threat to erase. The readings looked monstrous, the scale of its energy impossible to parse. They couldn't see what she saw now, the trembling creature holding back the apocalypse to protect something small. Ava pressed her palms into the ice, desperate. Alpha! You have to stop! It's draining you! The Starbeast turned its head toward her, eye blazing. Protect. The word came not through sound but through the ground itself. A pulse in her chest, a feeling that belonged neither to human nor machine. The next bolt struck harder. The barrier cracked like ice under strain. Fragments of light splintered outward, cutting through the snow in a silent explosion. The creature roared, not in fury, but in pain. Ava felt it falter. Without thinking, she placed her hand on its hide again, right over one of the glowing fissures. You're not alone, remember? Let me help. Her suit sensors screamed warnings as energy bled into her. Her skin burned, vision blurred. She felt herself merge with the pulse. Heartbeats sinking again, but this time deeper, heavier, like two drums pounding in unison against the storm. The Starbeast lifted its head. The auroras above twisted crimson. And then the final bolt struck. Light swallowed the world. When the thunder faded, there was nothing left moving on the tundra but the snow, falling in slow, solemn spirals through a haze of steaming air. The orbital feed showed a crater glowing faintly. Then, a second later, it went dark. Down on the surface, under the silence, something enormous exhaled. And the stars flickered, as if answering it. When Ava woke, everything was gray. Her visor had shattered. Frost had crystallized across her eyelashes. The world was silent except for the faint crackle of cooling glass and metal. The tundra was gone, vaporized into a basin of fused ash. She tried to move, but her body ached like broken stone. Her ears rang with a single sound, a slow, rhythmic thrum beneath the surface. Tum. Tum. A heartbeat. She dragged herself forward through the soot and steam. The air shimmered above the crater's center where something vast still glowed faintly orange beneath layers of dust. The beast's armor plates were shattered, its wings, those mechanical monoliths, half melted and curled inward like the petals of a dying flower. But it was alive. Barely. Ava stumbled to its head, falling to her knees beside the fractured eye socket. "Alpha!" she rasped. "Can you hear me?" For a long time, there was nothing. Just the dry hiss of the wind and her shallow breathing. Then, faintly, "Alive!" Tears blurred her vision. "Yeah," she whispered. "You did it. You stopped them." The creature's eye flickered weakly, light sputtering like a candle. "Hurt you?" She shook her head, forcing a laugh through cracked lips. "No. You saved me." Something deep inside the creature pulsed brighter. Its great chest rose and fell once more, then again, steadying. Around them, the scorched ground began to hum, a vibration too delicate for weapons, too alive for machines. Ava blinked in confusion. The ash was moving. Tiny particles lifting into the air, aligning into faint filaments of light. They converged around the Starbeast's body, forming swirling threads of glowing dust that wound into its wounds like a healing tide. Self-repair, she realized. A fail-safe buried in its genome. It was rebuilding itself, molecule by molecule. Ava pressed her forehead against its hide, her voice barely audible. "Rest now. You're safe." The beast's rumbling slowed. Then, quietly, it spoke one more word. "Together." And for the first time in centuries, the tundra of Kesh IV knew the sound of hope. The orbital drones finally arrived, too late to act, too late to understand. Their sensors picked up only heat signatures and weak electromagnetic pulses. Federation Command was left staring at a crater that had swallowed a strike force and left a single anomaly behind. Inside the crater, Ava sat cross-legged beside the Starbeast. Its massive head rested against the ice, eye closed, chest rising and falling with a rhythm almost human in its steadiness. The auroras reflected off fractured armor, painting it in greens and purples. A living monument to resilience. Ava activated her calm once more. "Command," she said, voice calm but firm. "The target is alive. And it's cooperative. I repeat, cooperative." Static greeted her. Then, finally, Captain VRH's voice broke through, shaky. "Lieutenant, impossible. The threat." "I know," she interrupted. "But I've stabilized it. I've made contact. It trusts me. Trusts humans." He hesitated. "You did what?" Ava smiled faintly. "I listened." The creature shifted slightly, letting out a low hum that resonated through the ice, almost like laughter. Its eye flickered open and found hers. "Do you understand?" she asked softly. "I understand." The words weren't audible. They were felt, deep in her chest, in the rhythm of the pulsing ground, in the vibration of the air. It was a connection that transcended language. She closed her eyes for a moment. The wind stilled. The ash settled. Even the auroras paused in their dance. Ava knew then that no human, no alien, no machine could replicate this. Something essential had shifted. The Starbeast, once a weapon, a harbinger of destruction, had become a sentinel. Not for a federation, not for a species, but for trust itself. The sun broke over the horizon in pale gold. Ava stood, brushing snow from her uniform. The Starbeast shifted with her, towering beside her like a shadow of molten metal and living tissue. And in that silence, both human and beast understood the unspoken truth of the universe. Sometimes the fiercest warrior is the one who chooses mercy. The tundra of Kesh IV was quiet, but it would never be empty again. Days passed, and the storm of ash finally settled. Ava and the Starbeast remained in the crater, a quiet duo against the frozen expanse. Supplies from the outpost trickled in, food rations, medkits, environmental stabilizers, but the Starbeast refused containment. It no longer needed her to guard it. It was free in a way no Federation protocol could measure. Ava walked along its flank, noting the slow healing of shattered armor and torn flesh. Each movement was precise, deliberate, like a mechanical sculpture regaining form. Yet beneath that precision, she could see the pulse of life, an almost imperceptible vibration that spoke of sentience and memory, pain and comprehension. "Alpha," she said, brushing a finger across one of the ridged scales. "I think it's time to leave this world." The creature lifted its head, massive eyes reflecting the distant auroras. "Where?" it seemed to ask. "Anywhere. Somewhere safe. Somewhere you can learn who you are, not what they made you to be." A low vibration rolled through the ground, almost like a chuckle. Its tail swept a shallow trench, a movement both graceful and terrifying in scale. Ava activated her shuttle's autopilot. The engines hummed in the distance, cutting through the fog like a silver knife. The Starbeast stepped forward, massive feet leaving prints deep enough to shake the ice beneath. It lowered its head, allowing her to climb onto a reinforced harness strapped across its back. The moment she settled, the creature rose. Its breath fogged in the cold air, gusts strong enough to flip snow in arcs of white and gold. The auroras above twisted in response, like ribbons acknowledging a sentinel in motion. Ava gripped her harness straps tightly. Her chest raced, but she smiled. "Let's see the stars together, big guy." The Starbeast lifted off, each foot leaving the ground slowly, deliberately. For the first time in centuries, it soared without war in its mind, just curiosity, wonder, and a tentative trust. Below them, Kesh IV shrank into a patchwork of ice and ash. Above, the stars waited. And a human and a warbeast were about to step into the infinite dark together. The void outside Kesh IV was black and silent, but alive with motion. Stars streaked past as the Starbeast glided through the upper atmosphere, its massive wings cutting through thin gas streams like knives. Ava clung to the harness, heart hammering, not from fear, but from awe. Every movement of the creature beneath her was a statement of strength tempered by intelligence. She glanced at the data pad she had strapped to her wrist. Readings indicated that the Starbeast's energy metabolism had shifted. The plasma-like pulses that once marked aggression were now steady, regulated. Its body was learning to live in free space, to breathe through synthesized atmospheres, to survive without war. "Alpha," she whispered, unsure if the creature would even respond. "There's a whole galaxy out there. Planets to explore, civilizations to meet, and maybe, just maybe, friends who won't try to kill you." The Starbeast tilted its head, and the faint hum of its voice vibrated through the harness. "I learn." Ava smiled, her fingers tracing the faint ridges of its armor that shimmered in starlight. "We'll learn together." Suddenly, a faint blip appeared on the scanners, a Federation recon probe. It moved cautiously, as if it suspected the Starbeast might be more than an animal. Ava's calm crackled. "Lieutenant, this is command. Identify yourself." She looked down at her creature, heart racing. Its eye met hers, glowing gold. The vibration she felt in her chest resonated with a new rhythm, calm, deliberate, ready. "Tell them," she said softly. "We come in peace." The Starbeast arched its wings and emitted a low harmonic pulse. The probe's sensors reacted instantly, scanning, analyzing, but unable to register threat. Ava felt the vibration pulse through her bones. "We are not weapons. We are alive." In the void, the Starbeast and human moved as one. Together, they were no longer the hunted or the hunted's shadow. They were explorers, ambassadors of a trust forged in the coldest crucible imaginable. And somewhere, far beyond the frozen stars, a galaxy waited to witness a new kind of courage. Weeks passed as they drifted through uncharted space. Ava charted courses through nebulae rich in ionized gas and alien radiation, the Starbeast adjusting instinctively to each current of cosmic wind. Its wings shimmered faintly under starlight, energy rippling along its scales in response to the subtle gravimetric shifts. One day, as they approached a spiral nebula streaked with emerald and violet, the Starbeast froze mid-flight. Its head tilted sharply, and a vibration pulsed through Ava's harness. A complex pattern, almost like language. "Something's here," she whispered, leaning closer. Her instruments registered unusual energy signatures, creatures, perhaps, or a sentient phenomenon she had never encountered. The Starbeast's hum intensified. They watch. Ava exhaled, heart pounding. Do you want to meet them? It rumbled in response. Yes. As they glided into the nebula, the gases parted around them, as though the stars themselves were bowing in deference. Lights flickered across the particles, responding to the Starbeast's vibrations. The patterns formed shapes, almost like eyes, watching, communicating. Ava could feel the subtle shift in tone, a combination of curiosity, caution, and recognition. Okay, she whispered, gripping the harness. Let's try peace again. The Starbeast extended one claw, tracing the ionized gas in a slow, deliberate motion. Pulses emanated from its chest in rhythmic patterns. The nebula responded, waves of light undulating in perfect harmony. Ava watched, breathless, as the cosmic phenomenon seemed to acknowledge them, a silent conversation carried through physics, vibration, and intent. For the first time, Ava realized that communication didn't always need words or gestures. Sometimes it only required presence. And with the Starbeast beside her, she understood she was no longer just a human in space. She was part of something larger, an envoy of trust between species, matter, and the uncharted pulse of the universe itself. Deeper into the nebula, Ava's instruments picked up a faint signal, a vessel drifting without propulsion, its hull covered in ice-like growths. It wasn't broadcasting, but something about its structure emitted a subtle harmonic resonance, almost like it was alive. Alpha, she whispered. This isn't just debris. There's something in there. The Starbeast's vibration answered, low and questioning. Danger. I don't know, Ava admitted. But maybe it's lonely, like you were. The ship's surface pulsed faintly as they approached. Its hull twisted and flexed imperceptibly, aligning with the Starbeast's energy signature. Ava's heart skipped. It's listening. The Starbeast extended a wingtip toward the ship. A ripple of energy flowed between them. The ship reacted, creaking and folding, opening what looked like an entrance. Ava felt the pulse in her chest quicken, invitation, curiosity, the first spark of understanding. She took a deep breath. Ready? The Starbeast gave a vibration that sent a wave of warmth through her bones. Together they entered. Inside, the ship was alive with bioluminescent veins. Lights pulsed like breathing. Shapes, unfamiliar, amorphous, shifted in and out of view. Ava could feel them observing her, testing her intent, resonating with the Starbeast's harmonic pulses. Hello? She said softly. I'm Ava. This is my friend. The pulse that responded wasn't a voice, but it was comprehension. A gentle wave of energy washed over them, and Ava felt it in her mind: welcome, trust, curiosity. The Starbeast rumbled in approval. Safe. For the first time, Ava realized the galaxy held more than threats. It held allies she had never imagined, and perhaps, just perhaps, she and the Starbeast could teach others what it meant to listen. Ava spent the next several days aboard the living ship, observing and learning. The Starbeast adapted quickly, moving through corridors that pulsed and shifted beneath its massive form without harming the organic vessel. Every step they took sent ripples through the walls, and every ripple elicited a response: soft vibrations, color shifts, even subtle gravitational fluctuations. The ship wasn't just alive. It was sentient. It had learned to watch and respond, much like the Starbeast. Ava realized the two were speaking to one another in a language she could only feel, through pulses, vibrations, and resonance. Alpha, she whispered one day, sitting cross-legged on a platform that shifted beneath her like water. They understand you. They feel you. The Starbeast's hum deepened. Yes. Trust. Ava closed her eyes, letting the vibrations fill her. She felt the lessons of the Starbeast, the patient timing, the respect for boundaries, the empathy that bridged species. Every movement, every pulse, was a conversation. She had always thought communication required words. Now she understood it could also be presence. A soft pulse radiated from the ship. A question. Ava opened her eyes. The Starbeast inclined its head toward her. Shall we guide them? Guide them? She echoed, heart racing. You mean, show them humans can be allies? The Starbeast's vibration answered with certainty. Yes. Together. Ava felt the weight of what that meant. For centuries, humans had been feared, hunted, underestimated. Now, aboard this sentient vessel, she and the Starbeast had a chance to rewrite that perception, not with weapons, but with trust. She reached out and touched its scales. Then let's begin, she whispered. Outside, the nebula shimmered, as if acknowledging the birth of a new alliance. And somewhere deep in the stars, the first whispers of hope began to echo. As they ventured deeper into uncharted space, Ava noticed faint signals on the ship's instruments, irregular, fragmented patterns, almost like cries. The Starbeast rumbled softly, antennae-like ridges along its neck vibrating in recognition. They're not hostile, Ava murmured. They're calling for help, or maybe just connection. The ship pulsed gently in response, folding a section of its hull open to reveal what looked like a corridor lined with crystalline filaments. Each filament shimmered with light, resonating with the Starbeast's vibrations. The creatures, or entities, inside seemed to mirror the pulses, forming patterns in the air, almost like language. Ava took careful steps. Hello. I'm Ava, and this is Alpha, she said softly. We don't mean to harm you. The pulsing intensified, a harmonic dialogue forming between the Starbeast and the beings. Ava realized that her own heartbeat synced with the vibrations, the rhythm forming a bridge between three species. Her mind expanded with the realization these were survivors, lost to the void, waiting for someone to listen. Alpha, can we help them? She whispered. The Starbeast's chest glowed faintly. Yes. Protect. Teach. For hours, they navigated the corridors, transmitting warmth and stability through the harmonic pulses. The entities responded in kind, their crystalline forms shifting to form patterns that resembled gestures of gratitude. Ava realized that she and the Starbeast had become mediators, ambassadors not just of humans, but of empathy itself. And in this endless void, where civilizations were often lost to war or indifference, they were planting seeds of trust. Above them, the nebula shimmered brighter, as though the galaxy itself was watching, approving. And Ava smiled, knowing that they were no longer alone in the stars. Weeks turned into months as Ava and the Starbeast traveled with the living ship, charting sectors untouched by the Federation and unknown to most sentient life. They became a moving sanctuary for lost and frightened species, showing that power need not be wielded to dominate. It could be shared. One day, a system with multiple moons appeared on the sensors. Orbital readings indicated a predator species. Massive, armored quadrupeds that hunted in coordinated packs. Federation intelligence had catalogued them as nearly unstoppable. Alpha, Ava murmured, eyes narrowing. These aren't humans, but they need to see something different. The Starbeast tilted its head, sending a low vibration through the ship and into Ava's bones. Observe. Protect. Guide. They descended onto the largest moon. The predators were aggressive at first, circling, growling in low-frequency pulses. Ava and the Starbeast stayed still, radiating calm. Slowly, the predators paused, observing the Starbeast not as a threat but as a new alpha presence, a sentinel that did not attack but stood. Ava realized the lesson here was universal. Strength is not violence. Strength is restraint, courage, and the patience to inspire trust even in creatures bred to fear. Hours later, the predators withdrew, leaving the Starbeast standing alone with Ava. The creatures had learned, in their own way, the language of calm, of mercy. Do you understand what we're doing? Ava whispered, brushing the ridge along its neck. We're teaching the galaxy that humans, even when feared, can be guardians. The Starbeast rumbled low, chest vibrations echoing through her body. Yes. Guardians. And for the first time, Ava saw not only the power in her companion but the responsibility they now carried, a chance to redefine the meaning of fear and respect across the stars. As their journey continued, the Starbeast and Ava encountered remnants of civilizations lost to time, planets scarred by war, moons abandoned after conflicts, and starships drifting aimlessly through the void. Each new discovery carried echoes of lives once vibrant, now reduced to memories in metal and stone. Ava's heart ached for them, but she also recognized a pattern. Destruction had always followed fear, misunderstanding, and unchecked power. And now, in the company of the Starbeast, she felt the possibility of rewriting that cycle. The Starbeast, sensing her reflection, exhaled a soft pulse that vibrated through the ship and Ava herself. It was a rhythm she had come to understand, a language of reassurance, connection, and intent. Learn from them. Protect what remains. Their next stop was a planet scarred with countless impact craters and frozen oceans. The sensors detected faint life forms buried beneath the ice, small, fragile, but resilient. The Starbeast lowered itself, extending a claw to gently sweep away ice and debris, revealing the creatures beneath. They survived, Ava whispered, eyes wide. Against all odds. The beings responded to the harmonic pulses of the Starbeast, aligning themselves in patterns of movement that communicated curiosity and trust. Ava knelt beside them, feeling the vibrations travel through her bones, as if the Starbeast was translating the unspoken fears and hopes of this world into reassurance. Do you see it? She said softly. This is why we exist. Not to conquer, not to dominate, but to protect. To listen. To teach that strength without empathy is meaningless. The Starbeast's chest thrummed in agreement. Yes. Guardians. Ava knew then that the galaxy would never be the same. Not because of weapons or wars, but because somewhere in the void, a human and a Starbeast had chosen mercy, and others would learn by following their example. The months of travel had forged a bond deeper than any human or alien could fully comprehend. Ava and the Starbeast had become more than companions. They were a single entity in purpose, resonating together in rhythm, thought, and intent. Wherever they went, the Starbeast's presence reassured, warned, and taught. And Ava learned to feel the galaxy's heartbeat, reading it through the harmonic pulses of her colossal friend. One evening, drifting near a binary star system, Ava activated the ship's observation deck. She gazed at the orbiting worlds, swirling clouds illuminated by twin suns, and whispered to the Starbeast. We've done more than survive, Alpha. We've changed things. Maybe not everywhere, not yet. But somewhere, we've made the choice to value life over fear. The Starbeast's vibrations were soft but clear, a ripple through the deck through her bones. Yes. Protect. Guide. Learn. Ava smiled, tracing the lines of its metallic biological scales. It's time the galaxy knows us, not as weapons, but as witnesses. Witnesses of mercy. The ship pulsed, responding to their intent, opening pathways to broadcast frequencies undetectable by most, but reaching curious, lost, and cautious civilizations. Harmonics of hope, encoded in resonance, carried across light years. A message: there is strength in restraint. There is power in compassion. From frozen moons to glowing nebulae, the echoes traveled. Worlds once silent began to hum back, vibrations answering in ways subtle and profound. In every pulse, Ava could feel recognition. Even the galaxy itself seemed to acknowledge the pact, that strength and mercy need not be opposed, that humans, once feared, could stand as guardians among the stars. And beside her, the Starbeast rumbled low, its chest expanding in quiet triumph. Together, they had made a choice. A pact sealed not with words, but with the enduring rhythm of life itself. We are here. We are guardians. Time became meaningless as they drifted further into the uncharted sectors of the galaxy. Ava had long stopped counting days, relying instead on the pulse of the Starbeast beneath her as the measure of existence. Together, they were a singular presence, human intuition and Starbeast strength intertwined, resonating as one. The living ship hummed softly, a constant companion and translator of the unspoken currents around them. Every planet, every drifting life form, every sentient being they encountered responded to the harmonic pulse the Starbeast emitted, a vibration that carried both warning and reassurance. Ava had begun to see the universe not as a chaotic expanse but as a living network, bound by frequencies of trust, empathy, and choice. On a distant world, a newly contacted species tentatively approached, fragile and wary. Their bioluminescent forms flickered, almost like fireflies. Ava knelt beside the Starbeast, sending a low pulse through the harness. The Starbeast mirrored the motion, chest thrumming. Slowly, the beings aligned, attuning themselves to the vibration, absorbing the message: "You are safe. You are seen. You are not alone." Ava whispered to the Starbeast. This is what it means to be a guardian." The creature's eye glimmered with understanding, and a low harmonic ripple resonated through the deck, soft, deep, eternal. It was more than a sound, it was a promise. A vow that, in a galaxy where fear often ruled, there would always be a force that chose compassion, that chose to listen, and that would protect without conquering. From the frozen tundras of Kesh IV to the whispering nebulae beyond known space, the human and the Starbeast had rewritten what it meant to wield power. They were no longer predator and observer, they were guardians. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Ava understood the final truth: the galaxy was vast, dark, and dangerous. But for the first time, it was not alone. And neither were they. The Starbeast exhaled, a low, steady vibration that Ava felt in her bones. Together they soared into the void, guardians of hope, harmony, and the living pulse of the universe.